Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. You wake up and for a moment the world is still. There's no rush, no obligations, just silence. A blank canvas waiting for your first brushstroke. This moment is yours, but instead most of us trade this sacred time for just 5 more minutes of unconscious escape. What if I told you that those extra minutes of sleep are the most expensive thing you own? That in them you lose the opportunity to command your own life, to set the tone, to create, to be awake in a world half asleep. You see, waking up early is not just about getting ahead or being productive. It's about stepping into life deliberately. The morning is not a time to be endured, it is a portal, a moment where time itself slows down, and you become aware that you are not merely a cog in some machine, but a living, breathing being in a universe that is constantly inviting you to dance. Think about it. Why does the world feel different at dawn? Why is it that artists, monks, and great thinkers cherish the stillness of morning? It is because the world has not yet imposed itself upon you. No emails, no demands, no expectations, just you and existence face to face. This is why you must wake up early. Not to grind, not to suffer, but to reclaim your own presence. To sip the morning air like fine wine. To witness the golden light spill across the earth and remember you too are part of something vast, mysterious, and beautiful. So I ask you, will you continue to sleep through the most sacred part of your day? Or will you rise, step forward, and embrace the quiet majesty that awaits? Time is a trickster. It moves when you're not looking and stands still when you want it to fly. You wake up late, and suddenly the day is slipping through your fingers like sand. The world is already in motion, and you're struggling to catch up. But have you ever noticed how time behaves differently in the early morning? When you rise before the world, time stretches. There is space, there is calm. The minutes do not rush past, they unfold like petals in slow motion. Most people experience time as a relentless force, an invisible current pulling them from one obligation to the next. They wake up reacting, checking their phones, answering messages, running to meet schedules they never question. But the morning belongs to no one but you. In those first quiet hours, time is yours to mold. When you wake early, you step outside the frantic flow of the world and into a space where time slows down. You are no longer a prisoner of the clock, but an artist shaping the day before it begins. Think of the sunrise. It does not rush. It does not leap into the sky all at once, desperate to illuminate the world. It takes its time. The darkness fades, the sky softens, the first golden threads stretch across the horizon. And in that moment, if you are awake to witness it, you see time for what it really is, not a countdown, not a race, but a rhythm, a pulse, a breath. When you wake up early, you align yourself with this natural rhythm, rather than being thrown into the chaos of a world that forgot how to move with grace. But people fear early mornings because they think waking up earlier means having less time to sleep. What they do not realize is that it gives them more time to live, more time to think, to feel, to be aware of the moment instead of being dragged through it. The illusion of time is that you never have enough of it. But the truth is, time is an ocean vast, deep, and waiting for you to step into it fully. When you wake late, you enter the day at high tide, struggling against waves that were already in motion. When you wake early, you walk into calm waters where each ripple is yours to create. There is no rush in the morning. The world does not expect anything from you yet. You are free to sit in silence, to move slowly, to breathe deeply, and in that stillness time expands. You see more, feel more, think more clearly. Your mind is not cluttered by demands, distractions, or noise. You become aware of yourself, of the space around you, of the life pulsing quietly beneath everything. And when the world finally stirs, you do not join the race, you step into the flow, already ahead, already awake. There is a moment in the early morning, just before the world wakes up, where everything is still. The air holds a certain quiet, as if the universe itself is waiting. Most people never witness this. They sleep through it, unaware that in these fleeting moments something rare happens. Life slows down, and the mind for once has space to breathe. When you wake up early, you are not just rising ahead of the world, you are stepping into a state of pure presence. You see things as they are, without distraction, without noise, the way the light shifts, the way the air feels cooler, the way your breath moves in and out, steady and unhurried. There is no rush, no agenda, only the experience of being. Most people wake up into chaos. The moment their eyes open, their minds are already racing. The alarm goes off, the phone screen lights up, messages, reminders, obligations, all of it flooding in before they have even had a moment to exist fully in the present. They are pulled into the currents of the day before they have even set their own course. But waking up early allows you to reclaim that moment, to sit in the silence before the storm and simply exist without expectation. It is in these early hours that the mind is most open, most receptive. The usual distractions have not yet taken hold. There is clarity, a raw awareness that is difficult to find once the day has begun. You become aware of how little control you actually have over the passing hours. The day will bring what it brings, but here in the quiet of the morning you have a choice to be fully present or to let the moment slip away unnoticed. Presence is not something that happens by accident. It must be cultivated, chosen. It is easy to exist on autopilot, to move through life half asleep, responding, reacting, never truly seeing. But in the early morning, when the world has not yet imposed itself upon you, there is a space where presence becomes effortless. You can hear the sound of your own breath. You can feel the coolness of the air against your skin. You can taste the first sip of water as it wakes your body. Every sensation is heightened because there is no noise to drown it out. People think waking up early is about discipline, about productivity, but it is not. It is about presence. It is about stepping into your own existence with awareness rather than being thrown into it unprepared. It is about taking that first step into the day with intention rather than being dragged along by it. The morning is the most sacred part of the day, not because of what you can accomplish, but because of what you can experience. And if you are awake to witness it, you will understand what it truly means to be alive. The sun does not need an alarm clock. The birds do not check their schedules before they begin to sing. The river does not decide when to flow, nor does the wind hesitate before moving through the trees. Nature has a rhythm, an effortless flow that unfolds without force, without struggle. And yet human beings, these creatures of the same earth, of the same elements, have detached themselves from this natural pulse. They sleep against the rise of the sun, wake into artificial urgency, and wonder why their bodies and minds feel at odds with the day. There is a reason why the morning feels different. It is not just another part of the day, it is the beginning of something. It carries a certain freshness, a clarity that cannot be found once the world is fully awake. The wind is softer, the colors more vivid, the air alive with a quiet energy. This is nature's invitation to rise with it, to move in sync with the universe rather than against it. When you wake up early, you step into this rhythm. You become part of something ancient, something greater than yourself. The first light stretches across the sky, and you witness it not as an afterthought, but as a participant. You breathe in the morning air, unspoiled by the rush of the world, and something within you stirs. You are no longer separate from the flow of life. You are in it, moving with it, aligned. But when you wake up late, you wake after life has already begun. You stumble into a day that has already started without you, trying to catch up to something that cannot be caught. The pace of the world feels overwhelming because you did not begin with it, you were thrown into it. And so your energy is spent in resistance, in frustration, in struggle. The birds have already sung their first song, the sun has already climbed higher, and you are left running after something that has already passed. Nature does not fight itself. The ocean does not rush to meet the shore, it simply arrives again and again in perfect time. The seasons change without hesitation, the stars move in their silent paths, the trees grow toward the light without question. When you wake early, you align yourself with this natural intelligence. You move with the rhythm of the world rather than against it. You begin not in panic, but in harmony. It is not about productivity. It is not about getting ahead. It is about understanding that time is not your enemy. It is a tide, and you can choose to flow with it rather than against it. The sun will rise whether you wake to see it or not. The question is, will you? Will you witness the world as it awakens, step into the rhythm that has existed long before you, and feel, even for a moment, what it truly means to be alive? There is a rare kind of silence in the early morning, one that does not exist at any other time of day. It is not the silence of emptiness, nor the absence of sound. It is the silence of space, of possibility, of a world that has not yet begun demanding anything from you. In this stillness, before the voices of the world fill your mind, there is something precious, yourself. Most people wake up into noise. The moment their eyes open, they are flooded with the expectations of others. Their phone lights up, their mind shifts into obligation, their attention is pulled outward before they have even taken a moment to meet themselves. And yet, before all of this, in the quiet of the early morning, there is an opportunity, a time when you are free from the weight of other people's thoughts, free from the endless push and pull of the world. This is the power of solitude. It is not loneliness, it is presence. It is a meeting with your own being before the world tells you who you need to be. In this space, the mind breathes. Thoughts rise and fall without urgency. There is no need to respond, to perform, to prove. You can simply exist. The morning offers you this gift, but most people sleep through it, unaware that they are missing the only part of the day that truly belongs to them. Once the world wakes up, the solitude disappears. The demands come rushing in, the obligations pile up, and suddenly there is no room left for stillness. The day moves quickly, pulling you in 1,000 directions, and by the time night falls, you are exhausted, wondering where the time went. But when you wake up early, you reclaim that lost time. You step into the day before anyone else does, not to be productive, not to check something off a list, but to be alone with yourself in the most natural, effortless way. This is not isolation, it is connection. It is the moment when your thoughts are your own, when your mind is untouched by the noise of the world. It is where creativity is born, where clarity emerges, where you remember, if only for a little while, that you are not just another piece of the machine, you are something deeper, something quieter, something alive. People fear solitude because they have forgotten how to sit with themselves. They fill every empty space with distraction, every moment of stillness with noise, afraid of what they might find in the quiet. But when you embrace the early morning, when you allow yourself to be present in that solitude, you realize something: there is nothing to fear. There is only you as you are before the world tells you who to be. And in that moment you are free. The way you start your day is not just a routine, it is the first note in the symphony of existence. It is the push that sets everything in motion. Most people wake up as if they have been thrown into the world against their will, groggy, resentful, desperate for more sleep. But when you wake up early, something shifts. Instead of being dragged into the day, you create it. You set the rhythm, the energy, the direction. And in doing so, you take control of something most people believe they are powerless against: momentum. Momentum is an invisible force. It is the difference between a day that flows effortlessly and one that feels like an uphill battle. It is the reason why some people move through life with ease while others struggle to keep up. And the secret to harnessing it is deceptively simple: start right. When you begin your day with clarity, with presence, with intention, the rest of the day follows suit. Your first actions create a ripple effect, shaping everything that comes after. Imagine waking up late, rushing to get ready, skipping breakfast, checking your phone the moment your eyes open, filling your mind with messages, tasks, and obligations before you've even taken a breath. By the time you step out the door, you are already behind. Your energy is frantic, scattered, reactive. You are chasing the day instead of leading it. And the worst part, that energy stays with you. It follows you into every conversation, every decision, every task. No matter how hard you try to catch up, the feeling lingers: something is off, something is missing. But now, imagine something different. You wake up before the world, before the noise, before the chaos. There is stillness. You take a deep breath, stretch, maybe step outside and feel the cool air against your skin. You drink a glass of water, move your body, maybe sit in silence for a moment. No rush, no panic, just presence. You are awake, not just physically, but mentally. And because you have started your day on your own terms, the rest of the day bends to meet you. This is the power of momentum. When you start strong, everything flows more easily. Decisions come with clarity, problems feel manageable, creativity flourishes. You are no longer reacting to the world, you are leading it. Energy is not something you wait for, not something you hope will arrive, it is something you generate. And it begins the moment you wake up. Most people underestimate the first hour of their day. They treat it as something to be endured, something to be rushed through. But that first hour is a blueprint, a foundation. It dictates the tone of everything that follows. And if you master that first hour, you do not just master the day, you master life itself. Life is not a checklist. It is not a race to be won or a burden to be carried. It is a movement, a rhythm, a dance that is constantly unfolding, whether you are paying attention or not. And yet, most people sleep through the most beautiful part of it, the beginning. They resist the morning, fight against the rising sun, and cling to sleep as if waking up is a punishment rather than an invitation. But what if waking up early was not about productivity, not about discipline, not about getting ahead, but about experiencing life in its purest, most unfiltered form? The morning is not just another part of the day, it is a world of its own. It carries a kind of magic that disappears once the world is fully awake. The air is lighter, the sounds are softer, the colors are richer. There is a gentleness, a kind of sacred quiet where everything feels new. And if you are awake to witness it, you understand something that cannot be explained. Life is not something that happens later, it is happening now. Most people wait to feel alive. They wait for the right moment, the right circumstances, the right mood. They believe life begins after coffee, after work, after they've checked their messages, after they've woken up enough to function. But when you wake up early, something shifts. You do not wait for life to begin, you step into it. You do not wake up for something, you wake up to something, the present moment, the stillness, the dance that is always happening, whether you are aware of it or not. And this dance is effortless. Look at the world before it has been touched by the demands of the day. The trees do not rush to grow, they simply rise with the sun. The wind does not force its way through the leaves, it moves freely. The ocean does not hesitate before meeting the shore, it arrives exactly as it should. Everything flows, everything moves in harmony. And yet human beings, the only creatures who resist their own existence, wake up fighting against the current, rushing, stressing, clinging to the illusion that life is something to be managed rather than lived. But when you wake up early, you remember what the rest of the world has forgotten, that life is meant to be experienced, not controlled. You see the sun rising without effort, the world unfolding in perfect time, and for a moment you realize that you too are part of this great unfolding. You too are moving, breathing, existing, not to chase something, not to achieve something, but simply to be. And in that moment, there is no resistance, no struggle, no need to force anything, just the simple, undeniable truth that you are alive. And that is enough. Waking up early is not about sacrifice. It is not about forcing yourself into a rigid routine or chasing productivity for the sake of it. It is about stepping into life deliberately. It is about experiencing the day before it becomes a blur of obligations. It is about reclaiming time, not just to do more, but to be more. When you wake up before the world, you step into a space untouched by noise, distraction, or urgency. You align yourself with the natural rhythm of existence, moving with the flow rather than against it. You create momentum not from stress but from presence. You embrace solitude, not as loneliness, but as a meeting with your own being. And in doing so, you remember what most have forgotten, that life is not meant to be endured, rushed, or postponed. It is meant to be lived. The world will wake up with or without you. The question is, will you wake up with it, or will you sleep through the most beautiful part of your own existence? The choice is yours.